Hi, teachers. Welcome to Zeal, and it's really nice to meet you. My name is Christian Sherrill, and I am School Partnerships Manager for Zeal, and I'm here to teach you an account. If you don't have a Zeal account, I'll show you how to get signed up. Hearing this broadcast from your principal who shared this with you, great. Let's get you started. I have a little presentation for you. I'm going to share my screen with you. Whoa, that's amazing. Google Inception happening. Welcome to Zeal. Again, my name is Christian, and I'm the School Partnerships Manager for Zeal Learning. We're based in San Francisco, but I work with schools all over the country. So I'm really lucky to be able to work with teachers and with students. I was a 7th grade science teacher prior to joining Zeal, and it's been my mission, since I was a young kid to help others. And so I'm really proud to be working with an organization that is doing so and doing well. Today, I'm going to show you a little bit more about Zeal. I'm going to show you how to license Zeal if you haven't already. Log in and get your students logged in. I'll show you how to set goals for your students. Then I'll show you how to make sure during class that your kids get so that they can achieve excellent results in Zeal. And of course, at the end, I will show you how to review the results of what's happening with your kids in Zeal by showing you our progress monitoring and DDI approach to learning. So here we go. First of all, what is Zeal? Zeal is live math tutoring. Check it out.
Program, your kids get to talk to live educated math instructors.
So this would be our equation. Do you see how that works?
Yeah. Let me think.
All right, can you explain to me why this is the equation?
Okay. That's the equation because it uses the s variable and times it by 3. So that stands for the 3 equal price shirts that Dave bought. I think that's it. Then it adds that and gives a total. If you use all these things, I think you can figure out how much one shirt costs.
We just ask a lot of questions because that's the best way to get a student thinking and to make them feel empowered. They don't want to come in and just hear a big lecture. They want to be able to talk about what's frustrating them. They're not getting something, and here's someone who's just ready to tailor it to the way that they understand it.
I believe that now I can do any question that they can ask me. I was like, I can do anything.
Getting started on Zeal is easy. Any class, kindergarten through high school, with access to 3 to 4 iPads, Chromebooks, or laptops is good to go.
I use Zeal in my classroom in a mixture of whole class and small group structures. It works well for both. They can access Zeal with an iPad or any laptop with Google Chrome.
Zeal is teacher-driven. On Zeal, students work on questions related to goals set by the teacher. Zeal quickly adapts to find each student's knowledge gaps, and then coaches work directly with the student to help them get over any hurdles.
The coaches come in to support those students that have those misconceptions, quick fixes. They're easy to diagnose. It can take a whole group of students off of my plate so that I can really focus on those kids who maybe need that mini lesson of the review. Zeal can work in any classroom schedule, whether you want to use it as whole class or in small group instruction. The coaches are available Monday through Friday, so that provides a lot of flexibility to use Zeal throughout the day. It's a really easy, user-friendly interface. My kids signed up with their name and put the code on the board, and they logged on, and it was pretty intuitive. I can actually be using my knowledge and my abilities to teach students. It makes me feel less like I'm leaving students behind and more that I'm being able to service more students because I have these extra people in the classroom with me.
All right. If you would like to license Zeal for your classroom, don't already have Zeal licensed, feel free to reach out to me. My email is here on the screen, ccheryl@zeal.com, and my cell number is there as well. Please feel free to reach out. I'd love to get your kids signed up. If you are already a school, a teacher at a school whose principal or instructional leadership team or whoever makes the budgetary decisions has already licensed Zeal, then what you're going to do is navigate to zeal.com on teacher login. Your username is going to be your school issued email. I've kept your password kind of secret for now because I don't think it's wise to be sharing your password over YouTube, of course. So I'm going to follow up with your principal to share your password with him or her. That way you can get into your account securely without me sharing this over the World Wide Web, the Googleplex. Once you're logged into Zeal, I'll put in my little account. Okay. Once you're logged into Zeal, I'd like to show you how to log your students in. You're going to go to Manage Class and log in students. Notice that I just have one kind of fake class for my Zeal because I use this to show a lot of teachers how to get their kids in. Log in or Manage Class. I like to go to Manage Class first just to make sure that all of my students are in my roster and they're looking good and their data is all correct, their names are spelled correctly, and so forth. These little fake monster kids. Add students or give your kids passwords. For instance, for this fine young gentleman, Corey Crocodile, if I wanted his password to be his last name, Crocodile, then I could make it there. I can easily delete that as well. It's really your choice. I tend to recommend passwords for students 5th grade and up, but for younger students, I typically don't recommend passwords because it's an additional step to get into Zeal. When you're ready to have your students go into Zeal, a class code under Manage Class and Student Login. You'll find a class code. You can edit this to be whatever you want. You can make it your last name. You can make it, if your classroom is named after a college, whatever you want this to be, you're welcome to make it whatever you want. I think there's a limit. I think you probably shouldn't make it 300 characters long, but you have some freedom in terms of how you get your students into Zeal. Then as a kid, what I do to get into Zeal is I go to zeal.com and put the little class code that my teacher has given me. Then I find my name. Let's just say I'm Corey Crocodile. To the system, and I find the goal that my teacher has set for me. I can have the question read to me.
Plus 6 divided by 3. 3x plus.
I can write on the screen, so if I want to annotate this at all, in addition to what I'm doing in my teacher's notebook, I can also get rid of what I've written. And that gets a little more advanced once you get on with a coach. And once I'm ready to select my answer, I can select my answer. Let's see. 9x plus 6 divided by 3. That sounds right. Excellent. I get a little auditory feedback. And I get a little progress bar if I'm a student. I click next to go to the next item in the diagnostic. I get coins when I get answers correct. A little character that if I am proficient on a skill, I can decorate my character, as much or as little as I want. It's a pretty fun system for the students to be on. And the best part about this is it diagnoses students and finds their levels. So you can trust Zeal to remediate for your students while you continue to push grade level standards and hold those high expectations that you know your kids need. Excellent. So we've gotten through how do I log in my students. We've even seen a little bit of what it's like to be a kid in Zeal. Now, of course, you want the goals that you set in Zeal to be aligned to your scope and sequence. So I'd love to teach you how to set goals that are, like I said, aligned to your scope and sequence. This is a little tricky. So I'm going to slow down. I have a tendency to talk too fast sometimes. So I'm going to slow down and just make sure that I communicate this really clearly. The idea with goal setting in Zeal is that the last goal you have set, first goal your students see. That if you're looking at a timeline of goals set the goals that your students will see last first, working backwards. So you'll start with the last goal first, backwards from there. Then students will march through the goals that you have set in the reverse order from how you've set them. Let me show you how this physically looks, on a Zeal page. Okay, so within review results, set goals, you can find the grade level that you teach. Say I'm a second grade teacher. You can find the you teach, the content that you're teaching at the given moment. So usually at the start of the year, folks are teaching NBT, kind of numeracy. And let's say I want my students to work on adding and subtracting within 100. I want all my students to be able to get there as my class goal. Now let's say instead to work on something else that day, I can unset the goal that I've set, green again. So it's pretty intuitive there. Now where it gets a little less intuitive and where we need to remember the last goal set is rule for Zeal is when we want to set multiple goals in a particular order. Start with the one that and let's call that the last goal that we want our students to see this week. I'm going to, since it's the last goal I want my kids to see, set that first. Then it's setting each goal. Then student logs into my class, they're going to see this final goal that I've set first. Let's log in as a student. Let me see, which goal did we just set? 2 NBT A1, bundle of 10 tens. So just to confirm that I'm not lying to you over the internet. And George Grimm. Notice we've got the level 2 NBT goal that my teacher set, NBT A1A. So that last goal is the first goal that I've seen. Then when I finish this goal and become proficient in it, I'll move along to the second to last goal that my teacher has set. Just to be clear, the last goal I set is the first goal my students see. How do I make sure that kids get the coaching they need and they deserve, and then my school is licensed? The idea here is that, well, it's really twofold. First, your students need to make sure that their computers are set up for success. There's going to be a pop-up that comes up when your students first log into Zeal. Ask them if they want to allow or block their microphone on their Chromebook, iPad, or laptop. have a funny way of sort of being conditioned. And in fact, I was the same way when I was a kid. I was conditioned not to, allow pop-ups. I would just kind of automatically block pop-ups. This is one pop-up that we really want students to allow. Without a mic, the coach can't hear the student and can't drill down on the misconception that the student's experiencing. So make sure your students allow their mics. There are various points within Zeal where Zeal tests your microphone. And it will ask your students to speak up. To have a computer telling you to do something, especially when your teacher has told you to do something else. Many students are conditioned, just like I was, to be silent during class. Computer says, speak up. Can be a little shy and they won't speak up. But it's really important that kids do speak up in those moments, because that's how Zeal tests how loud their microphones are. And that's how they're able to get a solid connection. Third, limit background noise in your class. So if you've got a rowdy class or a noisy class, sometimes the coach can hear that background noise and it becomes really hard for the coach to work with the student. Cases that time with the coach isn't as valuable as it could be if there were a silent class or a quiet class going on in the background. Make sure you have headphones with microphones on them. Pretty much every kid that I've ever met has those little white iPhone earbuds, and those have microphones in them built in. And most earbuds, whatever brand you wanna discuss, have mics in them. We also have a recommended list of earbuds with mics. If you'd like to discuss that with me, feel free to reach out. That this helps Zeal is, again, it helps to make sure that the coaches can hear your students really well, really clearly, and the students don't have to be leaning out over the microphones on their laptops or iPads, but rather they can just hear them clearly in their natural sort of body position. Finally, we have a special in-class rollout presentation, and I'll be sending this to your principal if your school has licensed Zeal, directly in your classroom. This will share the expectations for your students in terms of behavior. How do you get on with a coach? When you do get on with a coach, how do you behave? Human, yes, this is a live teacher. Yes, this is a qualified person who's there to help you. So yes, you're going to get the most out of it by speaking up and enjoying the time that you have with your coach. Okay. The other piece here is understanding who gets coached on Zeal and when. It isn't valuable, of course, for a student to be getting coached in a given moment when they are through your goals. So I'll show you some example reports in a moment, but your students who are blue or proficient aren't really going to get a lot of value out of a coach in a given moment or on a given standard. Red, that means they're really struggling with a given standard. It turns out our research and industry research says that those students also won't benefit from a coach in that particular moment. Benefit much further from being adapted down to an appropriate pre-skill, skill you've set, and then getting a coach at their actual level or their actual ZPD. Students who our research and industry research suggests really can benefit from a targeted coaching session are those kids that are in their ZPD. So students who have some context on a given skill that you've assigned to them, but not enough to be absolutely crushing through that skill. Those students are going to benefit immensely from coaching. Sessions are typically 5 to 10 minutes, quite short and targeted, because the coach can spend that time using all the data that your student has provided in advance to drill down on the 1 or 2 exact misconceptions that your students have. So those targeted tutoring sessions become really valuable, and they drive the results that Zeal is proud to show. How do I review progress in Zeal? How do I see that this is working? I use this to drive further instruction. Check it out. I actually have a whole suite of reports that I can look at on how my students are doing. The first is coaching sessions. See notes from coaches, and I can see, if I click into these, recordings of the coaching sessions themselves. So I can get as detailed a report of what's happening between coaches and students as I want, or as little detail. I want to quickly see that this is working. I can get a fast overview by looking at growth. Let's say my goal is a 5th grade goal, 5GA2. Look at the growth button. This is actually the same screen I was showing you before on my presentation. Within that, I can see the kids who are initially proficient already, who initially are right in their ZPD and could use some coaching, who are initially really struggling with the goal that I set. I can see those same students after the session, the kids who are proficient, the kids who still need some coaching and are right at their ZPD, and the kids who are still not ready at this level. Here is that in addition to seeing that these kids are not proficient on this goal, I can also see the exact level that's holding them back. And by the way, these are not real students, but in this student's case, Randy, I can see that it's actually a 3rd grade level skill that's holding him back, and not necessarily the 5th grade level sort of nuances that I'm teaching that day. There's a gap that is more deep-seated for Randy that I can help him address with further instruction. Except it looks like she's right up at 5th grade level. She just needs some targeted support at this level. If I want to drill down further again, pre-skills. So for that same goal, 5GA2, I can scroll right and see a report on all the pre-skills, if the students have been assessed on them in Zeal, that how the students are performing on those pre-skills. So for that same student, Randy, that I discussed earlier, not proficient on 5GA2, the original goal, and Zeal actually adapted him all the way down originally to kindergarten level. He had gaps that ran back that far. Randy marched back up coaches by practicing with his teacher, by doing homework practice and other resources, and of course by working in Zeal. Until now, he's back up at this 5th grade level, but there's still a gap that exists here. So what's going to happen the next time Randy logs into Zeal is he's going to get a coach who can help him. See the activity that my students are doing, how many questions they're filling out, how much time they're taking to do so, to make sure that they are, really focusing in here. I can activity to see proficiency on all the goals that I've set. Proficiency. I can also select, different grades. If I wanted to show every grade and every, whatever combination of items I wanted to see, I can as well. I can print out reports to give to parents during conferences. Like before, I can go back and set new goals. So this is kind of where teachers spend the majority of their time in Zeal, setting goals, tailoring the instruction that Zeal is giving to their personal scope and sequence, looking at the items to make sure that these are aligned to what they're working on in class. This is kind of the teacher hub. I hope you really enjoy Zeal. It's a real pleasure to work for Zeal, because I know that it's making a difference in a number of students. When I was a teacher, the biggest struggle that I had, I always felt that there weren't enough warm bodies in the room to support every kid exactly at his or her ZPD. As a result, I were doing a disservice to my students. I wasn't supporting every kid exactly where they were. That's exactly what you can do. So I'm really excited to work with you. I'm excited to partner with you to start a year on Zeal and beyond. Have a great day.